Sam is preparing also for a marathon, I think.
2 water bottles. 1
These
candle.
conversations tend to be lengthy.
2nd candle. 3rd candle.
What are the candles for?
Last bite.
They actually were on in the bedroom all night, so I just decided to bring them in here instead of turning on the heater. It's about 57 degrees in the house, so I just thought I'd close up the office and just have a couple candles.
And that produces enough heat?
Oh, plenty. Actually, with my 3 laptops, 3 computers, and 3 candles, toasty warm.
Wow.
And then my mixed nuts trail mix. And then I need to bring in a sleeping bag. Here's my cup of nuts. So good afternoon, Anna. How goes?
Yeah, good. It's been a nice day. We've had sunshine all day, very cold, but a lot of sun, which was
Sun
nice.
in February 1st. Wow, nice.
Hey.
Hey, there's Tammy. Hey, Tammy.
Hi, Tammy.
Morning.
Hey, Harry.
Evening.
Hey, look at these lovely people. How's it going?
Wide awake.
Yeah, I know, right? How are you, Anna?
Good. Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't make it.
Rama. Fantastic.
I couldn't quite make that out, Harry.
Oh, it was a great conversation in the Medium post and the YouTube conversation with Dasarata Rama. Awesome.
I've not viewed that yet.
He's wonderful.
Just a part of it was.
Anna, you were mentioning, sorry to not have met this morning. Let's make a different time because it's a bit early for me.
Okay.
So we'll do that after.
Yeah.
Hi, Doug.
Hi, Doug.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Well.
Long time no see. I don't know whether you folks are beginning to feel what I'm feeling, but it's sort of like I'm spending more time with you guys than I am with just about anybody else at this point, including my own dogs. And that's fine by me.
Well, let's find the hidden meaning of that.
It's the new family. Hey,
Yeah.
there ought to be a TV show called Modern Family.
Well, we can do that.
I think
Yeah, just the recordings and they're going online, on television, that's all.
I think we'd get into copyright trouble with that.
Oh, is there already something that is that?
It's the lawyer in me. I guarantee you.
There is a show in the U.S. called Modern.
There was a show.
We'll
All
find
right.
the better name.
Tongue in cheek.
Well, I don't know if modern works anyway. What is modern anyway?
So we're not modern. We're not traditional. We're not current. Are we?
Emerging family.
Oh, wow, yes.
From my advertising past, I know one label that doesn't grow old, and there's the word new.
Yes.
What about improved?
Advanced.
New and improved, like you're tied.
Improving.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
Learning, co-evolving,
Growing.
waking.
I'm not even going to share what's coming to my mind.
Pokey.
Come on, Doug.
Pokey family.
Get out there.
Pokey family.
One of those lengthy. Bring it on, brother.
No. It's all in the opposite direction. It's like ripening, rotting, detumescing.
Detumescing. Wow. Detumescing. You're only the second person that's used that word in my knowledge.
Okay, I've actually. Oh yeah. Woo. The process of subsiding from a state of tension, swelling, or especially sexual arousal. Okay. Hi, Glenn.
Hi.
Glenn looks ready to launch.
A small suggestion: the microphone a little bit lower.
We're catching your
We
breath.
catch you breathing. We catch you breathing, Doug.
Oh, sorry.
No, you just lower it. You know, don't move it away from your mouth. But I think if you lower it, that should be fine.
Does that work?
Yeah, that's perfect. Now I no longer hear you breathing.
Sorry about that.
Not that that's inappropriate for certain occasions, but, you know.
I'm just checking to make sure I'm still here.
Yes, you're alive. We confirm your breath. So Tammy, that could be one of your stimulating starter questions. If we were a TV show, what would we call ourselves?
I have a something. In the room for the record. It's one of the lines of content that I think would be really interesting for us.
In the room for the record.
In the room for the record.
Hey, Glenn, you're soft again.
Really? Yeah. I'll try to speak loud.
I think he's talking about your voice, by the way.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sort of in an interesting mood, so forgive me for being a little bit.
No, that's what comes after D2 messing.
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited about all this. So I want to put a random, this has been something that I've been thinking about for a while, which maybe pushes us to make some sort of decision. And Glenn, I don't want, I'm putting you on the spot, but I'm just going to do it, which is, I don't know where you're at in your financial world or anything like that, but I would love to see you get a microphone that actually works. It would really serve this our sessions together. So I would like to propose that we buy a microphone for Glenn to have it sent to him for so that he can really participate with our group sessions, because we've got some money.
We crowdsourcing, yes.
Oh, we do?
We do.
How come we've got some money?
There's a few of us that have contributed to a crowdfunding campaign for this group, and we've got about $200. Maybe today we've got 220 or 220 some, because Harry and Sam are giving monthly. Thank you, Harry and Sam.
Awesome.
I already had forgotten.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a jobby job. It was a funny expression you had in one. So yeah, not been much money lately, but definitely microphone should be one of
Actually,
my.
right now, Glenn, you sound great. What changed? Right now, you sound perfect.
Really? Well, the thing is, this thing here. I mean, this costs like $300 or something when I bought it, so it's supposed to be really good. But I don't know. Sometimes microphone just doesn't work. I don't know what it is.
No, right now it's perfect, right? Is everybody else having any problem right now?
Well, it could be better. Could you point at your microphone now, Glenn? Where is it?
It's here.
Okay. Does it make any changes when you put it in where you keep your say so? Yeah, let's test it.
Yeah. Hello, hello. How does this sound?
Perfect.
Is it? So I maybe just have to keep it close to my mouth or something.
Yeah. Okay. And now the other way around. Forget about it and then talk to us.
Hello, hello. How does this sound?
Same, eh?
Sounds great. Sounds good right now.
I don't think it's a microphone.
Maybe you just have to talk to it and then it sort of reacts or something. It seems that it
Actually,
helps.
it felt bad because Tammy was talking about replacing it, and then it's started feeling.
Yeah, it felt threatened, you know.
That's right.
Okay. Also, another point. On my screen, the quality of your images is quite different sometimes. I see myself rather sharp, but that's logical. But you're all in a different kind of resolution, so to say. Is that the same on your screens?
Yeah, it's a little bit unclear. Doug's resolution,
Yeah.
usually is a little, but it doesn't. Yeah, I mean I see him, but it's just a little more.
Well, if I may, what could be interesting, we also, if you know how to do that, we could make a screenshot of this moment, the next moment, and we compare it. Because I wonder if it's the internet, is it Zoom, is the connection, is it personal, is that an idea we could do?
I just did it.
Okay, me here, same here. Click.
And Doug, are you on HD? Like beside stop video, there's that little up arrow, and you can go to video settings. You're muted.
All that stuff is maxed out.
So you are on HD.
Yep.
Okay, great. I mean, it could be the camera. There's a lot of points.
I was listening a little bit to the conversation that you, Tammy, Sam, and Doug had on the barn racing, and you talked about the software platform, some really great stuff. And I'd like to add, I would like the software platform of the future to be bug-free and have the basics actually working well, because that cannot be said about most of the systems today. There's so many small glitches and stuff, you know.
Well, let me go one further and say I'd like the humans of the future to be bug-free.
That may take a little more work, but it's a good plan.
Well, we tried it with chemicals, but it has side effects too.
Nah, we're perfect. But we could be perfect.
Just don't know it yet.
Yeah. I actually had a little email correspondence with this guy at Plectica. I think he's the boss or something, because he sent an email. I think you said that Harry contacted you too. And so they're working on some stuff. So because the thing which really bothered me was that I couldn't put large pieces of text onto the canvas. I had to copy paste every single sentence. It's very time consuming, but it's these small things, they really matter, I think, because it takes time. And yeah.
What if you just didn't put a period? Like long sentences, like Doug creates. No, I'm teasing.
Yeah.
Lawyer style.
Got to get it all in there. So, Glenn, I was wondering too if you would consider writing some articles on Medium, like using that as a platform. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it looks great on Medium. I saw that you copied one article I wrote on Medium, and I thought it looks great there. I just haven't been using it so far. I've been using Evernote for my notes, and Facebook. Very often when I write something, it begins on a Facebook thread, and someone asks a question, and I try to formulate an answer, and it's really difficult to write short, so it becomes a whole essay, and then some of it can become interesting. But yeah, what are your thoughts about Medium? Do you have any plans concerning Medium for this work?
Well, I mean, that's where I present. For me, it's a mock-up space. It's a space where you can put some images. I mean, the banner at the top is nice. And then you can write stuff, embed the links, so you can bring things together in a kind of mock-up. so that we can create the kind of connections of information that we're looking for. It has comments as well, so you can comment on the article, but more than anything else, it's a space to mock it up. A presentation that's including a bunch of different elements. SoundCloud, yep.
And I also like the comments, the way you can comment. You can highlight the piece and have a comment, or just highlight it. The way you can react is also very nice, because you can show on exactly what you are reacting. So I like it as well, and it looks good. It's very pleasant to read as well. So it's rather carefully thought through, but also lately they've changed their monetizing scheme. So the more popular you get, the harder it is to get it for free, so to speak. So don't become too popular.
Yeah, I mean, I did sign up as a member, so I'm paying $5 a month or whatever it is. I really like the platform, so I just wanted to support them. And $5 a month feels like I can do that. You know, yeah.
But yeah, because if you put images inside of the text, that's very valuable, because you can't do that on Facebook. And because then you can have several photographs, and you can have
But the Facebook decides what to find easily. If it's not popular, I can't find it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sam, I actually had a question that I think maps to you, which is, I woke up and I was sort of like, crap. There is all of this stuff in the comment threads on Facebook and GCC group, and Facebook is not the place to leave it. How do we extract and preserve what is currently happening? Because it's the comment threads is source content, is critical, you know, generative artifact and ref and legacy and all of that. And the fact that it's generating and happening in Facebook for the minute is fine, because obviously the signaling and affordances are enabling that. Like, people are going where it's easiest for them to go to do it. But if I don't know whether we can figure out an, you know, IFTTT or some mechanism or automated basis for scraping and grabbing or copying and reposing somewhere somehow. But,
and can it auto update with new comments? Some sort of code that can be written to.
Oh yeah, well, basically, yeah, you can. IFTTT is really good for that. Although I don't know in this case whether it could be worked out. Yeah, it stands for if this then that. It is a platform online that enables non-programming, you know, illiterates like me to be able to automate really simple 1 to 2 to 3 step processes. And it's drag and drop and user friendly. But I suspect even if we couldn't do it with that, somebody who is literate and knows how to code might be able to create a quick thing that it sort of monitors, and when there's an update, scrape and append or scrape and update, and you know, and that way when Facebook, you know, starts arbitrarily, you know, deleting groups and wiping out threads and you know, changes its master's mind, we don't lose everything.
So that is a great question. So I'm going to pretend that we're on Tuesday right now, because this is kind of thing. But I'll go ahead and talk. Okay, and that is I mean, so many things are intertwined, but the simple answer is that if what we want to do is take little threads of conversation that are kind of topic specific and kind of make them live on their own, independent of other places, so that you know where to find them. Slack does a pretty good job of that. Now, I know Slack is not a great tool for most of us here. Most of us are new to Slack, but it was essentially built for that in mind. There is a Slack replacement called Mattermost that the Holochain people have gotten onto. So I'm using both right now. So both are possible. The simplest might actually be Google Docs. It doesn't give you a lot of capability, but everybody seems to have access to Google Docs. Everybody seems to have a Google account. And so it's very easy. It's very understandable. It's just like a PC with a folder structure, but on the cloud. And then what I do, because I like to do more things with this information, I put my stuff in the brain, or I put my stuff in a thing called Axon, which I showed you last Friday. But it kind of depends on what we as a group want to do and how willing we are to learn new things and try new things. So the easiest solution, I would say right now, from one standpoint of it's already there and it does this very, very simple job, is Slack. So if you want to, we could create one thread in Slack called unblocking. We could create one thread in Slack called barn raising. We could create one thread in Slack called values or whatever. And oh, by the way, I believe those channels do exist already in Slack. So that's one way to do it. And we can create channels anytime we want to. Anytime a conversation looks like it's taking over one channel, but it's really something else, we can split it off into a new channel. So it's very, very easy that way. So, I mean, that's just one possible solution, but kind of depends on what it is we're each trying to optimize. And that's part of the discussion about how do we make decisions? How do we figure out what people care about? What are the values? Is it transparency? Is it reliability? Is it persistence? Is it accessibility? Is it ease of use? Is it fastness? Responsiveness? Blah blah. All those things are different for everybody. Right?
What's happened for me is that I relate to this stuff these days from a completely emergent response place, meaning I woke up and realized our stuff is at risk. And the immediate need, and I relate to it as all of those threads are, generated artifacts. The immediate need, like simplest and most critical imperative, is grabbing it and putting it someplace, that's secure, that ain't going to be, going away or overwritten or, deleted.
We got gold.
My thinking is literally that's raw data, and let's just preserve it. We can figure out the slicing, dicing, access, use, and all of that other stuff as we go, and as affordances and resources and understanding and vision, evolve and harden up, all that stuff will come. And I think, in terms of, doing emergent development as a new idea, that those things will be emergently driven as well. Like, I really want, to auto tag all this stuff or figure out some, algorithmic process to distill keywords and do, advanced text recognition and sentiment analysis and then auto tag. And because I want to search it for this, I'm looking for something and I want to, legitimately construct a effective way of doing that rather than brute force. Mm-hmm. Could we figure that, let's figure that out. And then that'll drive a lot of that stuff. So right now, the immediate short term was just, holy crap, let's get this stuff and grab it before it goes away or isn't accessible. Like, we try to scroll through a thread. Some of these threads are massive. I know Facebook at a certain point is going to say, the stuff above comment number 175, we don't have to give them anymore. It'll be completely arbitrary.
Okay, so what I heard when you said this is you want it to be safe. right? So that's clearly different from other things like ease of use or, findability or etc. So safety, I think, comes when we finally get a platform on top of Holochain. It's not there now, but it's one of the things that Rob Best and I are actually having a side conversation about.
Love that idea. I'm right there.
Yeah, but
that would cut right to the chase of the ultimate solution, which is we're doing it in a distributed frame. Absolutely.
Now, the other thing that's possible, sorry, Tammy, but if you actually click on one of these threads, like the one that Jasper, I think, created, and there's, I think, 300 comments on that one already. If you just expand that and just do a cut, copy, paste, and just put that into Slack or a Google Doc, it's there, right? So it's backed up. So no matter what Facebook decides to do it, from that point, on, you're saved. But that's a very different kind of a use case and doesn't optimize for a number of other things as well. So I guess, the other thing I'll say before I give the floor to Tammy is that you realized this was emergent overnight. I have to say, I realized this was emergent 3 months ago. And so what's emergent is different when people actually think and figure out what's important, at what particular times. So I think that this idea of how do we get these experiences reflected in the group conversation and then surfaced and then enabled is very interesting. I feel unblocked because we had that conversation. I'm creating how-tos. I'm working on a website, which I actually mentioned on Friday. And I'm working on my own brain. And just yesterday, because Harry talked about Plectica on Friday, I actually went through a Plectica tutorial yesterday. Because it looks, possibly better than the brain, but I've got a lot of stuff on the brain already. So anyway, I just want to say that each of us comes with different notions of when emergence happens. Over.
Okay, now just say very quickly, Sam, you mentioned Slack, because when I try to copy large pieces of text into Slack, it doesn't take it. Does that work? Can I just take a whole document and put it in there?
Yes.
Because that's really important. Because ease of use is everything. It's everything. We have to have something fast and easy to use because it's always limited time. And that's the problem with Plectica too. But that's what I wrote with him about, and maybe they're going to make some changes. Because if you can put in a massive piece of text into Plectica and it suddenly distributes as many cards, that would be totally brilliant. But at the moment, it just takes 255 characters, and that's nothing.
Each of these things are attachments or documents. So if you put something in a document, like for example, in Slack, there's something called a post. So you can actually create a post, paste it in there, and then it can be pretty much as large as you want. I haven't reached the limit of how big a post can be. But if you're actually just responding in a line by line fashion, yes, there's a limit to that. But a post can be big. So it still appears in line on the wall. You click it, you can still see the entire thing. But at least it's not going to, in line, expand to 50,000 lines of text and make it impossible to find anything else. So I suggest using post in Slack for overcoming that particular problem. Over.
Glenn, you mean you can't boil everything we're thinking and doing into 255 words? I am so disappointed.
It's 255 characters.
Characters. I'm sorry, characters? You can't do that?
Even worse. The thing is, first I can write a long one, then maybe I can write a short one. But
so I just want to share my screen for a second, show you. I'm just going to show you. Okay, so this is my good friend Nadia Cheney. Is she works with Partners for Youth Empowerment, so she's a creative facilitator. And what they do a really interesting Facebook meeting where every third Thursday they do a session, and it's live, and everybody kind of answers the threads, and they're there's discussion questions, there's setting the stage, so there's quite a few pieces to interact with. At the end of, I think it's an hour and a half, people can still continue commenting for a certain period of time. And then what they do is they do curate them on their website. So I think, yeah, here's Pi Global. So what they do is they create them as these documents. So I'm just going to open one so you can see how it presents. Now this is hard work, and one class is 17 pages. This class here was 17 pages. So they basically have so that it is nested with the threads, how it's set up. So this is a resource to look at how, I mean, this is piece by piece. There's a staffer who's actually doing this work, but it is a model, a mock-up again, of how it is that we could present it on a page. I think that of course it would be also awesome Plectica or ThoughtSpace or one of these kind of spatial visual connector things, because it would be neat to make connections between threads within a thread as well. But I just wanted to share that because they've been doing that for a few years, and it's useful to see it, I think.
I was just curious. I've been spending a couple days taking our manual notes from some of the past meetings and taking the automatic transcript that's derived by YouTube and Google and putting together both those pieces in Google Doc. And then for each YouTube video, I put a comment on that video linking to that Google Doc. So if you go back to last Friday, for example, the session between Tammy and me, if you look in the comments, the first comment or second or third, whichever, but you click one, that takes you to the Google Doc. It has our manual notes at the section 1, and then section 2 is the entire Google automatically transcribed version. Now these things are usually going from like 60 to 100 pages, by the way, of reformatted text. So most of them are around the 75 to 85 page range, just FYI. So each line, by the way, in that is time tagged. So if you search for a word and it say presence, or you say something like, angry or whatever, then you look to the left, it says 1 hour, 22 minutes, or, maybe say 112 minute, something seconds. So you can actually jump to that section in the video very easily to hear how that thing was said and then who else said things around it. So anyway, I just wanted to point people's attention to that because even already I've gotten a couple of people say, hey, that was very useful in getting them to get to that particular section. Neil Davidson, in fact, used the word parallax. You have to figure out what parallax, which, how far to the left, how far to the right to actually go to actually get to that thing. But anyway, I just wanted to let you all know that that exists now, and haven't gotten to all the videos. I'm working, recent and then back. So just FYI, that is something which does take a little bit of time, but I think adds a lot of value to whether or not these things are usable and referenceable, etc.
Yes, thank you so much for doing that work, Sam.
I created a Word document with the first 20 group conversations transcribed. Maybe I should share that in the group. I just said on top of each, it's what time it was, who was there, and then it's a transcription. But I mean, that's like 1,400 pages long or something, so it's a pretty massive document. But I mean, it would be good to have it. If I share that in Facebook, would that come on the right side? Because I see that there's a few files on the right, and that's something which would make it a lot easier to find. How does that
Facebook
work?
group has a thing called files. There's a files section in each group. I would put it there.
Yeah.
But we haven't heard from Anna in a while.
Yeah. Anna, how you doing?
I'm just listening.
I'm happy to do, but
What was that, Harry?
I'm so happy you are listening. It must be very boring in a way as well.
No, it's not boring.
Okay.
It's interesting. I still, yeah, just to put my 2 cents worth, I don't see the value of these discussions in terms of how we can what's the word, when you mine the gold. For me, the value is the actual experience of them. And going back over, it just feels like dead stuff, you know, raking through dead stuff. I don't see how it can be used usefully. I'm open to seeing that, but for me, discussions that are alive at the time, even as they are on Facebook, I mean, even in text, they're very much alive there. I haven't looked at Medium, and I will look at Medium. But how you think that it would be valuable to be able to link up, for example, you mentioned, what were the topics, equality, or, you know, to look back on how it was talked about. It's gone, you know, whatever it was, it's gone. And for me, I couldn't see what the value would be to find out how it was spoken about. It's a lot of work to, and so there must be a feeling in the group of how valuable it is to retain that. And that isn't something that I appreciate.
If I may, for myself, I'm constantly always making notes, and I seldom look at them again, but only.
Exactly the same, yeah.
Yeah, so I understand that, but it's also a matter that I'm far too curious for the new things and the actual things that I do it. But I think it was yesterday in the train. I started once more to do it on paper because I did everything digital lately, but I started writing again. And I notice when I read my own writings and I do review it, it's very valuable. And also when things have happened, like for instance, I learn a lot by what other people have written down or documented. And you might consider it dead, and in a way it is. But I learned the most in my life from the dead people, so to say.
So to
Can
me,
you give an example, Harry?
Name a big writer, Claire Graves.
No, I didn't mean from dead people. I meant from looking at your notes and reading and finding out.
I'll have to look that up because.
I got one for you. So, at some point, Sam and I are going to have a conversation one-on-one. And I have a stacked up list of questions, subjects, things that have popped up over the tenure of the time we've been getting together that I have questions about. So one of the touch points was one of the video conversations where he shared an experience and sort of framed a question or framed a piece of his life or his experience or whatever that he hadn't gotten past in terms of, you know, figuring it out or resolving it, right? Now, it pushed huge radar signaling buttons for me because the story that he shared, the first 4 chapters of, I have the 5th chapter for him, right? that I could, you know, share that he might find really valuable. Now, when the time for that conversation happens, one of the things that's been in the back of my mind is I need to go back and find which video, which YouTube file, because I want to be able to reference it, even if he's like fuzzy, go back there to say, let's catch up. Here it is. It's here from this time code to this time code. And does that ring bells, you know, refresh recollection, whatever, as a reference point and starting point for sort of derivative and augmented and deeper dive in conversation and exploration. So that record is sort of, for me, it's a living reference that provides a mechanism to circle back around or to look at something, think about it, mull about it, and then come back to a person or come back to a session or a group or what, our conversation, to say, you know, we said ba 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 ba, and I thought about da 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 da, and let's go deeper. And the sort of awareness experience of that was something that has become more and more alive for me as I'm involved in more and more of these kinds of conversations and exchanges. Because if I'm not watching the clock or accepting time as a linear governor and controlling force over what I'm focusing time and attention on, if I sort of subordinate that, then the experience I'm having is this flowing forward and back. And so some places might revisit and go do 6 times, some places 10 times, some places once, and some places never. But that record, that source data as a reference, is required for me to be able to do it. If I don't have it, then truly, to use your words, it's gone. It's gone. It's lost to posterity.
Okay, I accept that we learn in different ways and we use different things, and yeah.
Let me add another thought to this, which is things are live or dead to the extent that they're either breathing or blood is flowing or something is happening, right? So if we take something like a Shakespeare book, right? It's dead. It's just a bunch of words. But I doubt that many of us would say that it's dead because people are interacting with it every day. Kids are being inspired. They're learning words. They're learning expressions. They're learning about, interactions. They're learning about presence on stage. So things are alive or as dead as we interact with them. If we don't interact with them at all, it might as well be dead to us. But if we do interact and it creates state change in me, there's a life there. There's an energy exchange there, right? So I would think that if we had these videos, of which we've compiled 130 whatever of them, okay? If nobody ever interacted with them again, they'd be as good as dead. But they're going to be considered live if someone actually views it, gets insight, calls up Doug, calls up you, Anna, calls up Tammy, or calls up me or Harry, Glenn, whatever, and then there's an interaction. There's a state change. There's some impetus towards some kind of change in life for that person. So anyway, you could look at it both ways, and I think that this notion of things as dead simply because it's not in the present, I think is a limiting thought to me. Over.
Okay.
And one little thing I love to add to that is that personally, I totally feel this, like you say, Anna, to be experiencing the process itself. That's what's most valuable for me. And that is exactly why it's so frustrating to have to spend so much time and energy looking here and looking there and do. That's what breaks the flow. If we had a really simple system where we could find quickly, easily, that which is relevant, that would really assist this ability to be in the present, to relax, to not worry about it, and it could add energy. And at the moment, I don't do all of it because it's too much work, and that's why there's all of this goal. This is there, and often I'll have to, write the same things again, and that does have its value for sure. But sometimes it would be wonderful to just be able to quickly find exactly what that person said at that moment, if it's relevant to this. If I feel that it's relevant and it can be added in, then that's really going to help this staying in the present and just experience the process. It's just like Doug's been talking about, like human-centered technology, the human experience at the center, and then having automated systems to take care of all this trivial stuff. That would really help the pure presence part immensely. I'm convinced of that. Because today it's a big frustration for me. It's so much time and energy I have to do all of this small tasks, little here, it breaks the flow. Sorry.
I'll jump in. One of the things is that we're creating some awesome problems for ourselves, right? We're like, how do we create more value on top of the value of being present here and learning the practices that we're learning while putting our pieces in? And there's a lot here. Like, Glenn's work alone, Sam's work alone, Harry's work alone, like, what we know and hold is huge. So part of what we're doing, to my mind, is that we're learning how to think together. And so there, for me, needs to be a bridge between us so that there is those repositories that we can see, that anyone can kind of go in and follow their own thread of interest in the body of information, ideas, sharing that we've done. And I get that it gets technological, but there's a real burning human need in me to be able to access what we have learned and be able to share. So, Glenn, as you say, you got to go back, and you've already written a bunch on that. It's being asked again. Is it better to copy and paste, but then you actually have to go in and make it relevant for that particular thread? We're gonna keep looping on the conversations, just like the purpose conversation continues to loop until we find something that feels right for us, that works. And it is a big task. Like, the interoperability is, really powerful, what we're learning on the human side. On the technological side, that's important too, because that's part of the moving target that we've got going on right now, which is the huge opportunity that we have to create systems that can catch our knowledge and wisdom and allow us to see ourselves, right? Also, another insight that I've had over the last couple of days in rewatching some of the last sessions is I repeat myself a lot. I'm like, right, I'm saying the same shit because it's not actually progressing. I mean, it is progressing, but I want to, anyway, I'm noticing things about myself in the review of how do I actually show up in the way that I really want to show up as a contributor. So I don't have the answers for that, but I just wanted to flag for you guys that I've been reviewing my stuff and I'm like, oh God, you said it again? Like, these people have heard these things a million times.
Give me an example, please.
On Friday, there was just a lot of repetition with what I've said before. And having the feedback of, I've heard this before, for me, that was like, right, what is really next? And what's next for me is making these conversations really present in the moment with what we can do. Like this session that we're having today, this for me is more strongly in the pocket of what I think can serve us to, make these hurdles and really identify what are the specific tools we can use. What are the challenges that we're looking to meet? It's that we've got a huge amount of information that we need to be able to find ways to access, to build towards a system where that is the interoperable system of communications, exchange, and value creation. That's how I would describe it, that we need to be able to support the transition of systems. Harry, you got a frown.
Yes, the last words make it complicated again. Go, please.
Yeah, it's simpler to me, and it's actually not like so we can access, which means we have to worry about accessing. The virtual platform, tools, affordance, repositories, all the moving parts of a machine running in the background, I want it to signal me that it's got stuff that might be relevant and germane automatically. I want it to go, there was this conversation 18 months ago where the exact same stuff was being kicked around by you and this person, this person, this person, and this person. And, would you like to check that out, or do you want me to sort of pin it so after the conversation's over, you can check, correlate, whatever. I want it to do that automatically. Technology exists for it, to handle that. I shouldn't have to look for anything. What a waste of my time.
And that's where your work and Sam's work with Time Browser really connects.
Yeah. So there's a piece though that popped out of this last round that part of us doing us differently also is the generosity of time and attention of all giving to each to iterate us. Like me practicing me getting better at being me bringing a better me in the next conversation than I did in this one. And Glenn rewriting the answer we keep getting asked of what is the it for GCC, and what are you all doing, and where's the meat and where's the beef and whatever. But the truth of the matter is that with each iteration it gets better, and I don't think he's very far from having created that answer in a way that we could all go, you know what, that is frickin' perfect. Glenn, lock and load. Anybody asks, you cut and paste. It's done. And that's an emergent generative phenomena of this too, that there are these pieces. Some of them are ideas, some of them are vision, some of them are understanding, some of them are like getting to agreement or alignment or consensus. They're all over the place, but they're anchored experientially, they're anchored emotionally, they're anchored in the shared co-creation process itself, instead of being produced or generated. There's an organic quality to what emerges out of this for me. And that's all the difference, you know?
Yeah, and you also, Doug, you also wrote a few things in one of the threads, which I also really like about the sort of what it is we're doing here, and so the question to me seems to be a little bit, there's this big sea of information, and is there a reliable way for us to get out certain artifacts which really represent our shared understanding as where we are now, which all of us feel, yes, this is it doesn't have to be perfect. It's never a question of perfect, but it's a question of when someone asks a question, and Sam's brought this up many times, do we have an answer ready if we just have a few seconds, but do we have something ready that we can actually stand for, and that I can actually trust that this is pretty good. It's a pretty good description of what we've been doing lately and where we're at, and yeah, that is very valuable. Very valuable.
I know Sam's wanted to talk for a while. Sorry, Sam. I'm just also, Doug and Harry are likely going to Enlivening Edge. So I just, I'm thinking about the Friday experiments, and I would love for us to do a little jam about what we can do tomorrow to help, because I wanted to further our goals and aims, and it's tomorrow. So I was just curious if there's any contributions from you guys before you go.
I have yet to watch the session between you and Peter Anderson, but Peter and his partner Mike Klein seemed willing to do a deep dive at some point. I noticed that on one of the threads. So that's one possibility.
My outtake from our session is that I think it works for you and I to have a direct conversation to progress our work, but I don't think it works in a group session. I think a group dialogue is for something else, or one person, but not two. That was my outtake, but I think that those sessions are better being, those people, and then present it for further engagement later, because the group vibe, it doesn't quite feel like it fits as a group conversation, although we can test it with one person and see how that works. Friday for me is about is about experimenting and reading what the group needs at the moment. Yeah, just some thoughts.
Okay, so I guess one of my takeaways was that there was a couple of things going on that I think maybe the lack of focus that you're describing might be assisted if we cut shorter the initial check-in time for everybody, because that I think took probably 45 minutes or more for everybody to check in, and that left less time for the more detailed complementation discussions. That was one of my takeaways.
Yeah, I just think that it's going to be a more direct, energetic flow if it's just between the people that are collaborating, because then we can catch on each other's ideas, and we're not having to hold that the group field at the same time.
It might be worthwhile and interesting, just as an aside, Tammy, on top of what you just said, is that if the two of you did one-on-one, that it's set up with fishbowl capability, which means others can check in, can listen in. It's not necessarily about everybody being in the soup, but the ability of people to play audience, that has a position and raison d'etre in a lot of these processes as well. So that I think would be a valuable add to the one-on-one stuff. And in terms of Friday, I don't have any idea this minute, but there's some stuff that's brewing. So, if I can, I'd like to reserve mull time, and and I'll ping on the GCC group site with some shares and thoughts if they gel enough before we actually have the session. So I gotta hop, but thank you. Thank you for being there.
Enjoy Enlivening Edge.
Thanks.
I do want to join at some point soon. Thanks for the heads up.
I was thinking I would like to join Enlivening Edge too. I think it might be more appropriate for me than this, because this is definitely, I mean, the Sunday one is fine, but I won't be there this Sunday, Doug. My sister is coming to stay. But I'm thinking maybe for this one, which is becoming really more technical, I might go to Enlivening Edge if it's acceptable. I will apply and see.
Well, we could also sort of crash Enlivening Edge en masse.
I'm up for that if others are.
Like, you guys are welcome to do that. I think that's part of the
Yeah.
fluid dynamic of this, and I think
Yes.
it would be
Allow
great.
me to, yes, I'll put the Zoom link in the chat if I may.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, actually, I can't get it on the chat here. Can you email it to me, or?
Can't you see the chat here? Anna, here, this one?
No, she's on an iPad, which has less functionality. I'm happy. I'll put it in. I'll put it in Facebook chat for you right now, Anna.
Okay. Gotta go. Bye.
Okay. Bye bye.
See you in a minute.
I just have a brief comment to this thing about Friday, because that Friday session, as I understood it, it was you, Tammy, and Sam who wanted to explore your work, but we also did a fairly long intro and different questions came up, and that was just one session. And I also had an email from Heiner, who talked about how he'd been part of the session called In the Hot Seat. And there the concept was that they looked at one person and their work or something they wanted to present, and the others could ask all kinds of questions. There were certain key questions which had to do what you bring to the table, or what you would like help with, those kind of things. And sort of, as I understood that concept, was that you focused in on one person with something they really wanted to present, and then the whole group can really ask all kinds of questions which naturally come up. And I don't see that we really tried doing that.
Yeah.
And I certainly think that would be worth trying. And then it wouldn't be such it wouldn't be a disturbance if there was 4 people in the room or 10 people in the room. It wouldn't really matter, and the audience would probably just help, because the person presenting would see the facial expressions, and then it would be the kind of hybrid, like what Anna wrote about, the difference between presenting and conversing. Then we could mix it together and we could have both together. At least I think it would be worth trying, and I don't see that we've actually tried that yet.
I'm gonna go, guys, I think, because I feel this is gonna keep on being technical, and which is fine. It's obvious it's just not my métier. So I'm going to try this other one. If it doesn't work, I'll be back.
And just a note, I mean, this is free format, right? So you're just as influential in the discussion of topic as any of the rest of the people here.
Yeah, but if I don't have anything that's relevant to what is being said, then it feels like, you know, I don't have anything to contribute. If I do have something, I'm happy to say it, but it doesn't feel that that I have something to contribute for this.
I'm curious that you bring up contribution now, though.
So Sam, I am just conscious that Anna does want to join the other session, but anyway.
Are you wanting me to stay, Sam?
No, I'm merely asking why contribution is important, because I thought it was the experience and the being here that you were more
They're very much linked. Being able to contribute is part of the experience, is very much part of the experience. Feeling that I have some connection, some worth, some value in being here because I bring something which is important. Yeah. Does that not make sense?
Yeah.
I guess we'll address it more in our one-on-one, Anna.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'm happy to do that. Okay, guys.
Thanks, Anna.
Yeah.
See you soon. Bye.
See
Yeah.
you later.
So one option is to see if, sorry, it's Peter and who?
I think his name is Mike Klein, Peter's partner.
And they're in the UK.
I actually don't know.
So that's yeah, it'd be good to know because that's pretty late for our European friends.
Except for Hannah, who likes it late.
Yeah, totally. I mean, people are happy to do it, but it's not perfect for presenting your work.
Mm-hmm.
Did you read through his
Not yet.
Earth Co-op? I read the beginning of it. I mean, it's a long thing, but I really love the model, which is really just sort of hyper local, distributed globally as with this global knowledge base, sort of connecting local communities all over the world. So I think that would be really interesting for
Yeah.
this group to look into. I think they have a lot of great insights.
Yeah, it's
Sorry, this is Peter Anderson, who I already had a session with, right? So
Yeah.
This is Vocalize. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's like I actually have a physiological, there's so many people and connections in my worlds that I get a little, oh gosh. But I think that is great. That's a great idea. I'll see if he's open, but he is in the UK. So I'll reach out to him and see if he and his colleague is interested or available tomorrow. But I do like the idea of testing that format that's on one person so that we can all go deep. Because yeah, I just found that it's too much to present Sam's work and my work and the interconnection of them in a way that actually works.
And other people, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also like what you said, Tammy, like there's so many people, there's so many connections, and that really goes back to what we talked about earlier, that it's so important that we figure out a very simple way to navigate this sea of information, and because I also feel that it's so overwhelming, but there's so much interesting, and yeah. But if we have sessions where we go deeply into one specific thing which one person wants to present, that would certainly bring out something new in the process. And I think it would be really interesting for that person because they would understand their own work better and they would be able to get relevant feedback in real time.
Yep, totally.
It would be really interesting for the others to really try to understand, because in one person's mind, it's like everything is together, it's coherent, it makes sense as a whole, but then you kind of need to be able to see it as a whole. That's sort of been the challenge, I think, in the more typical group conversations.
Do either of you have any interest in joining Enlivening Edge?
What is it?
I would at some point, yes.
I don't know so much about it.
I was thinking of hopping off and hopping on there, of how people are creating other spaces in this space.
Okay, we can cut this one short today. I'm not going to join them today, but I got plenty to do, but we can cut this one short.
Can you say briefly what it's about?
Well, I can go back to Doug's post. Let's see.
Do they have video conversations?
Yeah, no, it's same thing in Zoom.
Okay.
And as one who spends, this is Doug's post, as one who spends a significant amount of time in generative online Zoom conversations, some purpose-driven, some for connection, all co-created by those who show up in service to learning how to do us better as human beings and contribute to the transformation of our world. The Enlivening Edge sessions were both the catalyst for and the genesis of my belief and commitment to these practices as the wellspring from within which an emergent, human being-centered, value-centered, and in-service to common-centered world can be enacted, modeled, and propagated. With that, I would like to extend an invitation for those in my other circles and all of that. To connect with others without agenda, judgment, or expectation, from a place of openness and curiosity, to feel what there is to feel, see what there is to see, and experience what it's like to just be a human being. You remember that question about why did the bear go over the mountain? To see what he could see. So that's the write-up that he sent this morning.
Oh, great. So that's a group similar to this group?
It is.
Yeah, great. Yeah, because if we can connect many different groups like this, that's the sort of model which I can see for the future.
Totally. Okay, well, I feel like we did some good work today. Like, it feels like it's shifted into a more active place, which I'm really pleased about. And I mean, I love the deep dives and all of those things, but I also feel a strong need to progress and make concrete and take action. So I'm really stoked that we went there today. So I'll leave you folks, carry on as you will. And thank you.
Yeah. Wow.
Should we call it a day?
Yeah, good for me. Yeah. So unless there's anything else, but just very briefly, Sam, about this with conversational threads and the written thing. What do you think we should do there? Because I have a lot of ideas about what we could do to add more value into the Facebook conversation threads. And
I'm not sure that we want to add more value. I mean, it's already very active. The one thing that I start whenever a group gets together, and I don't think this has been very explicit, is for people who like to write, and you're one of them, I would recommend you have one place where you really want to establish your own blogging identity. And you just post every day or twice a day or once a week or whatever you want. Just put it in that one place. So if you've got, a Blogger ID, or if you've got a WordPress ID, or if you've got, a peanut butter wiki ID, or if you've got your own domain, call it glengaslin.com or whatever, just post there. And then link to whatever you want to comment on, like link to the thread in Facebook, or link to the YouTube video, or link to the Google Doc if you have something, or whatever. I think that's probably the easiest, because to get a group of people to agree on a single place for everyone, not going to happen. You know?
Yeah.
I say, you know, just pick a place yourself. And then in Facebook, if you find something relevant, just say, hey, I wrote about this, provide a link, maybe a sentence, you know, abstract, and then, you know, have them go to your site. And now you know where all of your contributions are. They're not going to get lost in Facebook. That would be my suggestion.
Exactly. Okay, but I'll just briefly mention what I was thinking about, because my experience has been on Facebook that sometimes I'll write something there, someone comes with a question, a response, and that ignites an answer process, and sometimes the threads can go on for a long time. So there's a lot of energy in the Facebook groups, and there's a lot of people there, and that's something I really like about it. And one idea which has been on the back of my mind a long time is whether it's possible to write one Facebook post, which may be shared in this group or several groups, and then to edit the original post continuously during the conversation. And then as it sort of peters out somewhere, then maybe some of that material can be collected and put into an independent article or Medium or blog or somewhere. But that seems to me like there's a way we could generatively use the Facebook threads, which might be quite interesting to look at.
I don't know. For me, Facebook is a lousy place to put threads and conversation, but it happens to be where everyone is, or that's where we actually got our identity from the start. You know, ideally, they would do something better with their Facebook files section, so you can create a document in their file section, and that is editable always, okay? So you can actually do that. But I think going back and editing Facebook posts in the middle of a thread, I do that on occasion, but I try not to do that because it's very counter to some of the fundamental principles that I believe in, which is, you know, everything just is as it happens, you know. You can version things, you can revise things, but the old version should still be findable in my belief. So Facebook, you know, doesn't reflect most of those principles. And so I find it a not very good platform for collaboration. It's a great platform for people finding each other and seducing each other with all these pictures and posts and whatever, and friending each other. But I don't think it's a great platform for collaboration, in my opinion. What people do on it that they call collaboration is but a small part of what's possible. You know, there's much more that's possible that is not available in Facebook.
But would you think it could be good for sort of initiating a process, sort of like?
Yeah, but it's the problem. You know, once you get everybody on Facebook, they don't want to go anywhere else. You know, it's kind of a front door. It's a lobby for people to gather. But if you create a conference room and say, hey, everybody, let's come to the conference room, everybody's still talking in the lobby. Not all, you know, unless you have some coercive, you know, authority to get people into that conference room, people aren't necessarily going to go. So until we define an identity and some ways of being with each other and expectations of, hey, you know, I expect you in this conference room at such and such a time, and the only such agreements here are Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. For now, you know, there's no other practice that's been established. And in fact, that's not even a widely held agreement. That's only an agreement among, let's say, the 6 or 8 of us that show up to these meetings. There's 120 others that don't show up. So clearly something's not working for them. You know?
That's a good point. It's just that thread that was mentioned. There was so much interesting that came in there. So, but it's clearly it has its limitations.
Very much. Yeah.
But
You'll notice when Jasper came new to the group and said, "Hey, what is the group all about?" obviously, you know, we didn't have an answer. That's why there's like 300 comments on that thing, you know?
Yeah. Or maybe we had too many answers. I don't know. But,
That's the same thing as not having an answer.
Yeah. It is.
Or it may be perfectly fine. Each one of us has their own individuated answer. Maybe that's fine. That's completely fine for now, unless we want otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. But how do you think would be the best way if, let's say, we wanted to start a written conversation between several people, where the purpose of the conversation is to have one document which is sort of continuously refined?
Personally, I would do it on Google Docs. That's where I would do it.
Yeah.
Because Google Docs keeps all historical revisions, and it has a chat that's available off to the right. And you can link to it, you know, and people can be assigned editing rights or commenting rights or just view only rights. So I think it suffices. And then you actually put that link in Facebook or anywhere else. I think that's perfectly fine, in my opinion.
Yeah. Then of course, on the Facebook group, we can share what's appropriate there according to who's in the room, and sometimes in several groups. But yeah, Docs, I haven't used it yet.
Google Docs is pretty good if you want to do, you know, shared editing, shared authoring, you know. So multiple people can write at the same time. If we go in there, I can even show you, you know, there can be a 1-page long document. You can be editing at the top. I can be editing at the bottom. We both see in real time what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. And then, as you mentioned, Slack too. I mean, most of us are members there. Yeah, I'll just keep thinking about it. But maybe Medium is a good place to sort of collect all my articles.
Yeah, I mean, Tammy's decided to do it there, so might as well, you know, use it there, and you'll see everything that's available to Tammy is now available to you.
Right, because that's also everyone that you're friends with can see it and comment, and so it's also interactive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'll just have to keep thinking about it a little bit. Exactly how to do it, but yeah, I think we nailed it all off today. So maybe it's good to keep it in the back of our minds.
So have you ever thought about taking out a domain of your own, glenngaslin.com? You could actually set up your identity that way.
Yeah, I did buy a few domains a few years ago, but I never really did anything with it. But WordPress, that's supposed to be quite good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. It's good enough for most people's needs. But if you want to do Medium, you can do that too. So you can actually set up your own account on Medium and then get one of your domains like glenngaslin.com and just point that domain to your Medium page. You can do it that way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I'll just take one thing at a time. But for now it's works quite well to be in Facebook and try to. And I'm using Evernote a lot. I have thousands of documents there, and it's pretty good. So
yeah, I've been on Evernote for probably over 10 years, maybe longer.
Have you used Evernote too?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of Evernote compared to the others?
I mostly use it to clip web content. So I use the web clipper. That's probably 99% of what I use Evernote for. But I also, probably 90%. I also send, Evernote has an ability where you can send email and it appears in your own Evernote. So I use that quite a bit as well. I don't actually go into Evernote and revise documents in there or edit notes. It's mostly just a repository of content that's very badly organized for me. It doesn't give you very good organization capabilities because, it has, anyway, there's a lot of issues I have with Evernote. So I just use it for a very small set of use cases.
Yeah, I've also had issues with editing things there. It's actually not so good for editing.
Yeah. And the search used to be much better, and I think their search right now is horrible.
Yeah, that's right. I think if you've got to make that work, you have to really figure out a clever tagging system. If you can have a really clever tagging system, that's necessary. But yeah. Now, well, I think we'll have to build the super software system someday that has the best of all worlds. Three-dimensional.
Doug wanted to do. Doug called it the DKR, the Dynamic Knowledge Repository, and that's what I've been ineffectively trying to build and trying to get interest in and trying to specify and trying to talk about what it should do. And anyway.
Yeah, I have a clear vision. I want to see three-dimensional spaces that I can just fly through that has all of, similar to the brain, and where you can tag and all of this stuff, and it's really fast and reliable and simple. But I haven't found the one super software yet, so maybe that's the big barn to be built.
You have to start with small barns.
Yeah, we gotta start small. Well, I think I'll call it a day for now, but
yep. Okay, Glenn.
Been great, so I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, probably tomorrow. That's right.
Yeah, I'll probably come tomorrow. So yeah, bye.
See you later, Glenn. Bye-bye.